So the focus of the month of September, marketing presentations. So creating simple and easy to use presentations that your newest agent can use to be successful and close the deal. So first and foremost, I just wanted to speak to what are the situations where you'd want to create a template presentation. And there's 4 key situations I could think of. If you guys have other ideas, I'd love to discuss those with you. Number 1 is the obvious listing presentation. Number 2, buyer presentation. Number 3, recruiting presentation, because we're all team leaders here, so we should all be recruiting not only agents, but admin as well. And number 4, which we've never talked about, which will get talked about at the investor workshop, is our investor presentation. What is that systematic approach that we're training all of our people to help them be the most successful possible? And so one of the main reasons we focus on marketing presentations, and over the next 3 weeks, Andy and I will take you down the rabbit holes of the actual presentations. But what we have found is that if you do the same thing over and over and over again, and every time you fail, you ask yourself, why did I fail and how can I change it? And or every time you succeed, you ask yourself, why did I succeed and how can I continue doing that? Essentially, our listing pres, buyer pres, and recruiting pres is a culmination of 10 years of experience of using these presentations to be successful. What we found, though, it's just a tool, just like anything else. So if it's not used the right way, you won't have as much success with it. So what we challenge everyone in this training to be thinking about is what we're going to share with you is just a tool that's worked for us, but we've trained our agents on how to use that tool. So if you go and search in the database under the Monday agent trainings and the Wednesday dialogue, you can look up listing presentation and you'll actually see probably 7 different trainings all about how to present our actual listing presentation, which we actually have named listing orientation because we're orienting them with the process of working with our organization. I wanted to go around the group and everybody shares under the listing, buyer, recruiting, and investing. If you have some type of a marketing presentation for any of those buckets and or all of those buckets, I thought it would be fun because we don't have a ton of people today. I think we're at about 10 or 15 people. Everybody go around and share one thing from your listing presentation, buyer presentation, recruiting presentation, and investing presentation that you feel helps you to stand out when you're sitting in front of someone. So Andy, why don't you kick that off just to share kind of an example of what that might sound like and walk everyone through what you think our top one is, and then we can just get volunteers from there.
Perfect. So for if we were to talk about the listing presentation, I think the number 1 piece for the listing presentation would be our Verly videos and live links that we have in our listing presentation. I'm not going to dive too deep into exactly what it is, but I believe that that right there allows our weakest agents to at least compete with rockstar agents in their market or stand apart from the other run-of-the-mill agents that they have to compete with.
Awesome. I love it. Great example. Anyone else want to share something from their list pres, buy pres, recruiting? Jeremy, we'll go you and then Jerry after that. Or Gary, I'm sorry, I always call you Jerry. It's a lot easier. I'll just call you Jerry.
Yeah, so I focus on video a lot, so I send links to actual videos that I've done in the past, and people, it helps stand out because not a lot of people right now are doing videos. Another thing I do like to go over the pricing, and I mentioned, if we're getting no showings, we're at least 12% off, few showings, 5 to 10% off, and I think it sets us up well, I guess, for the future. If we're not getting that many showings, it's, hey, look, we're overpriced. We discussed what we need to do, and we're getting this number of showings, so they've heard it. I like that part of it.
That's a really good one. Yeah, and when you're tracking analytically, you can start to figure out how many showings does the average listing have in different price points before it gets an offer. So if a house in a $700,000 price point needs 12 showings, that's the average, and somebody's at 18, those analytics can back you up, and making that part of that listing presentation would be really strong. That's a great example. Gary.
All right, it's actually Jerry. Can you hear me?
Yep, you sound perfect. It is Jerry.
Jerry, yes. So for recruiting, what we use is basically we let them know that we do one-on-one, held them accountability, and then we give them leads. Now, we just joined your ERS program, and it's amazing. What we do tell the new agents that they have to do the new agent orientation, launch the 12 or 10 programs in there before they receive any leads. And then after that, they have to prove to us, we go hands-on to make sure they could handle the leads. And then we give them access to the Monday and Wednesday classes. We did have a little problem. They just fixed it. I think you're in the new agent launch. So as of today, I had a couple agents that are 2 years on our team, and the feedback on that was, oh my God, I need to go back to basics, looking at those orientation. But since we added this to our presentation when we're recruiting, before we used to get 1 out of 3, but now my wife, she recruits like crazy, and when they hear that we have the one-on-one and we also have coaches for them, they're, wow, you're gonna have a coach for me, and this is a big thing for us.
No, that's a big thing for everyone. I appreciate you bringing that up. And I think the traditional brokerage has failed the agent. Statistics prove that 19 out of 20 agents are out of the business in the first 2 years because they're not doing the things that you're talking about.
Yeah, I do want to add one more thing. The reason, one of the biggest thing why I pulled the trigger on this too also is that my wife, she's the one that works hands on hands with the team. And I do a lot of bank foreclosures and stuff, but I do also work with the team. There is no way that she's going to be able to have them being coached if her and I would do this. But having this, and we're going to implement on Fridays, have the mastermind about the Monday calls, the Wednesday calls, and then the accountability. I think this is going to give us more free time to work other things and build our team.
You guys, we did not pay him. I wouldn't have gotten his name wrong sometimes if we had.
But it's awesome. Great stuff, man. Thanks.
Cool, man. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that. Let's give him a clap. All right. Who's next? Hakeem. He's ready. Look at that smile. I'm always getting complimented on my big smile. I think Hakeem beats me. Are you up, Hakeem?
I'm up, Jeff. Thank you. It's my first day, and I appreciate everything. In our listing presentation, we do make a big deal about the Matterport and our video stuff because we're in an area that a lot of agents don't do that. So we send the examples. We give testimonials and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it goes a long way.
Dude, that's awesome. I know that's the same one Andy brought up. Like, I think that Matterport product really can differentiate you, especially now more than ever, having something strong that nobody else does. And it's funny, I'm one of those perfectionists. I want everything to be what I would want, right? Kind of following the golden rule. Someone told me once, he said, you just have to be a little better than all your competition. It doesn't have to be the very best product. It just has to be a little better. And in my opinion, for virtual tours, Matterport's as good as it gets for existing homes. So that's a good example, Hakeem. I appreciate that. Real quick, for anyone that is new to this, or Sherry, who's back for the second year, would you please add your city and state along last name so that everybody knows where you're working out of? Sherry, did you like that little jab at you? If you guys ever see me looking down, it's so that I can actually see your facial expressions on my laptop, because I have the Zoom link on here too. Because the 65-inch screens, I guess, weren't big enough. We probably have to buy 85-inch screens, if that's okay, Dana.
65.
Let's do speaker view. Let's try that and see if that makes it better. Have you guys seen Tony Robbins' setup?
Hey, how are you?
Like, practically in like a movie theater. He has this podium and like it's insane. Like, he has everybody right there on this giant screen. I think it's pretty cool. All right, who's next? All right, Drew, go ahead.
Now I wanted to speak. I don't know how many people are familiar with me, but I represent Jeff's investment company, Dynamic Properties. So I'll speak briefly for anybody who's going to come to the workshop on our acquisition strategy. But that's one thing that I always bring up that seems to set me apart in listing presentations is if any of you guys have like an iBuyer program, we'll buy your house at a certain, set price as is, cash offer type deal. Even if they don't take it, because obviously it's going to be below market value, but if you can bring an offer day one or bring an offer to the listing presentation, that can set you apart as well. So that's helped me.
That's really good. And I've empowered all of our agents in the entire brokerage to be able to go in on a list pres, and we've already shared with them in Omaha, we try to buy at what, Andrew? 35% below market value. And there's a lot of people in situations where they don't have the money to get their house to market value, and so they would rather just give it to us and let us close in 7 days or 7 months, whatever's most convenient for them. Andrew also will be speaking at the investor workshop. He's been one of our lead acquisition managers now for 3-4 years. He also does disposition. So he helps us buy them. We pay him $3,000 every acquisition, and then he helps us sell them. He gets $1,000 on every sale, so $4,000 total. And how many appointments do you go on a week right now? I mean, you guys are 15, 20.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah, they go through a lot of appointments, lots of offers. Takes us, I think, about 5 appointments to get one offer. So these are the types of things that we'll talk about at that investor workshop. Thank you, Andrew. That was a good one. Anybody else? Just one big standout. Kevin, we'll have you go next. Who's on deck? One big standout from your listing pres, your buyer pres, your recruiting pres, or your investment pres.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yeah, you hear great. You sound great.
Okay. Well, next call, I'll make sure I put Grand Rapids, Michigan on there. But so I'm going to share something from my listing pres and my recruiting pres. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm a brand new team leader. Also, this is my first call with ERS. The recruiting piece that I want to share has been working way better than I ever thought it would. I built my business very quickly. 34 deals my first year, about 8 million my second year. And I did it all on branding, getting people to know, like, and trust me in person. And I did it pretty much everything with personal branding. I don't really do anything with cold calls. So I have found with my recruiting, because of all the video, all the social media stuff that I do, and the branding work that I've done on Instagram, I'm the Jeep Realtor, and I pretty much brought my entire branding into the off-road community personally for me. But what I'm doing for recruiting is talking to agents or brand new agents that I'm going to help train you on how to find your personal brand, your niche, whether that's expireds, listings, whatever, for sale by owners, or if you're the singing realtor, whatever it is, whatever that happens to be for you, I am telling them that I'm going to help and train them on that stuff. And that has been huge because we've got a lot of energy. We're a young team. And I've got a 15-year veteran agent that I'm interviewing on Friday, and she loves the idea of what we're doing. I've only been doing this for 2 years, 2 months. And she loves the energy. She loves that we're teaching people how to do video. Now, jumping into the listing pres that has helped us stand out there, we're doing lifestyle videos on every single house. It does not matter what the price point is. I just did one on an $80,000 house. Nice little house, but we did a lifestyle video on it. We've got a videographer on staff and also a social media guy on staff. So that's just one of those.
Yep. I think what I took away on that first part is I think a lot of us want to plug people into processes we built that we know work, and we're not willing to take a step back and ask ourselves, how can we help that person that's in front of us become the best version of themselves with something they're already comfortable doing or something that they want to become better at. And I think the challenge is when we become experts at one thing, that's the only thing we can teach people to. But when we know enough about everything, and I think that honestly, for those that just joined ERS, I think that summarizes us nicely. Like, we have become experts, I feel like, at pretty much everything around real estate, even outside of residential real estate, with investing, mortgage, title, insurance, digital marketing. We've tried to continue to establish ourselves as the expert on all topics, and we've done it by simply learning from all the best agents and mortgage companies and title companies and influencers all across the country through interviewing them on our podcast, being interviewed on the podcast, books, any seminars, anything that we can get our hands on. So I love that point. I think that that's important as a leader to find where our people can become the best versions of themselves and then train them to that, hold them accountable to that, motivate them to that, and not have it just be about them plugging into our thing, but helping plug into what they want to be successful at by plugging into what we have to offer. And welcome to ERS, by the way.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Alyssa, you rocking this? You ready? You ready to do this thing? All right, unmute yourself. Also, Dana, give me co-host rights. You can make me co-host by clicking in the top right of mine.
Oh, and by the way, I follow Mr. Jeep Realtor on Instagram or something, because I also have an awesome Jeep. But so one thing, we just implemented Burley, and so I think that's the top thing in my listing presentation right now. That we put in there. Also, our numbers are really good compared to the market, so we have all of our stats in direct comparison to market averages. So that's a big one. Our average sales price in El Paso is 178, and I think ours is 315. Average days on market, here it's for right now 22, and ours is 3. So we have our stats right next to each other.
I know Andy and I were talking beforehand. We always kind of get together and talk about what the training is going to be about. And he made the point, if your individual stats don't look great, use your team stats. If your team great, use your brokerage stats. If your brokerage stats don't look great, you guys are going to love this. Just use the stats of the neighborhood. You can go on a listing presentation and say, did you know homes in your neighborhood are selling on average in 3 days, even though your brokerage is garbage and it's taking 14 days? You just use the neighborhood to help them choose to work with you. They'll get excited. Holy cow, I didn't know that. They don't know the difference. So
you're not required to give the other agent credit at all. Ever.
Of course not. I'll even, like, I've seen agents before, they send out postcards and they'll say, hey, like they'll be farming a neighborhood and they'll say, hey, here are the 7 homes that sold in the neighborhood and this is how much they sold for and this is how fast they sold and these are the amounts they sold. Call me if you'd like me to offer you a free market analysis. You didn't have to report who sold those properties. Right? You're just giving them data about sales that took place in the neighborhood. So I think that's a really good point. When you do have it, brag about it. That totally makes sense.
Yeah, I have all of my agents use team stats so that my stats bring them up because they're almost all brand new agents.
Yep. Love it. I know Verly's come up a couple times. That's our digital marketing company, and we have an in-house product where people partner with us to allow us to do all of the editing. So you get a shooter on the ground, you buy a Matterport camera, or you can use a Ricoh or even your cell phone, and then we do all the editing of it. I'm going to share in the chat. Andy, I don't think you have this link, so I'll just share it in a second in the chat. But essentially, the example I'll share is exactly what we can do for anyone that's an ERS client that wants to partner with Verly. You guys can email me direct if you're interested in getting more information about that.
Can I give you a little unpaid ad real quick? So I'm having people come to my open houses saying, okay, so I want you to list my house just like you guys listed this house because I saw it on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, and they are coming to the open house just to ask if I could list their house.
And they mean like that because they like the marketing. That's what's so cool about Matterport. It doesn't have to be Verly, but Matterport's product in and of itself is amazing. Verly just takes it and makes it better by giving you a marketing platform. And I'll actually just share it really quick because I think this is a big standout that I think is beneficial for everyone. Dana, I can probably just share my screen or put it up here. What do you think works better? Okay. So give me 1 second. Let's get one more person while I get this set up to share something. Who else is left? Sherry, I was picking on you earlier. Why don't I pick on you again? What's something that stands out for you guys?
So all that can really come to mind is with our recruiting packet, before meeting with you guys, we didn't really have a recruiting packet. So even just getting that implemented, and then we hired a marketing person this year who made it look really pretty for us. And so, I mean, just having that, and we kind of laid ours out, like some of the information you gave us as far as, you know, the 4 things we offer with training, leads, culture, you know, that kind of thing. And just focusing on that has helped us. We're bringing on another new agent this week. So it's been great.
Cool. Just having something, a simple process. You give them it. I have on our career page, if you go to kwelite.com under About, there's a career page, and it has the bullets of everything you get when you join Keller Williams, when you're aligned with our organization here. And if you read through the bullets, it's like, it's mind-boggling to me. Like access to Boomtown, access to command, coaching, accountability, lead generation, 10,000 square foot office, technology, system, processes, digital marketing hub. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And if agents would just read it, and then if I had an opportunity to talk to them about it, you know, that's the whole idea, is getting them in. So having a formal process and handing them something, I think that's key. So that's a really good example. All right, I'm going to share my screen really quick and show you guys what we were talking about with that Verly product. And I only shared this one as an example because it's gotten so much traction for us, and I feel like has really separated us from our competition. And what's cool about this is this link that I'm going to pull up, if it works here. I think I put it in the chat. You guys can pull that up too. I'm going to go back in there and grab it. But essentially the link is custom and branded to the agent. So all of the agents' marketing, when they put it on Facebook, everything that they do, everybody is getting redirected to the agent. And then we use a Boomtown redirect. So when they want more information about the property, it goes to the agent's Boomtown page, squeezes it, and then generates a lead for the agent. So obviously having a site like that that can capture is going to make a big difference. But this is the one of a house I sold about a month and a half ago. It's a luxury listing. One of the things that's unique about this particular tour is it does tags. They call them matter tags. And so if there's things you want to highlight in a property, you can actually link products to YouTube videos and then have people and be able to kind of highlight different things throughout the property. Okay. So I won't go through all of it, but imagine every listing, you know, to the point that you were making, Alyssa, where people are like, I want it to be like that. I want it to be like this too. On my own personal house, if I were to sell it, I want this. So the first link you hit play, it takes you to the Matterport, but then it's all the information about the property. Then there's a video. It's branded because I'm posting this on Facebook, so it's talking about me. It's got a map drop. It's got all my social media redirects. And then they have the ability to contact me here on the contact form, and then they can share it to any of their pages. And so Verly charges $250 for all of this. And you get a custom page, a non-custom page that goes on your MLS. They have it optimized for Zillow. They're one of the Zillow preferred photographers that is allowed to upload video onto Zillow. And there's a Facebook optimized, Instagram optimized, so you get 5 videos, essentially 5 separate landing pages. And they can even rip pictures off now. They can take the pictures off of the scan if you use the higher end Matterport camera. So I know we have a handful of clients that are on there, ERS clients that have bought the technology and are now using Verly. But if you want more information about that, you want to separate yourself from your competition in your marketplace, you guys can email me, jeff@kwelite.com, to talk more about that. All right, anyone else that didn't get to share something? Lucas? Alyssa did not make it so that you didn't have to share. Lucas is very well studied. He's going to have something really good to share with us. Some area, Lucas, where you set yourself up from the competition on the buyer pres. No one's really talked much about the buyer presentation. We have bullets we'll talk about today on the buyer pres. What do you got, Lucas?
So I'll go listing presentation. One thing that sets us apart from most agents is we work well with other agents, and we strive hard, and everyone on our team, we push that hard that we are easy to get along. We don't get mad. We keep our emotions in check, and all through the whole transaction. So when we're done with, say, another agent on a transaction, they're going to say, we want to work with you again, because we want them to see our listings. We want them to say, no, you need to buy this house. It's going to be so much easier.
Right. Cool. I love it. So I didn't even notice. You got one more thing, Hakeem? Go ahead.
Well, on the buyer presentation, the thing that we set ourselves apart, we actually have a showing agent. In our market, things that are nice only last 2 or 3 days. So if you can't show, if you're locked up and you can't show for a week, having that showing agent just frees us up to be able to not make people wait. And that's something that pretty much no one offers where we're at. So
here, but I wrote showing assistant as well. That's a huge perk. That's probably one of our top. The other one is a simple one that everyone should be doing, but e-alerts. When you work with me, I'm going to set you up on a search that's custom just for you. So the second a house hits the market, you're going to know about it, and I've got my showing assistant ready. You don't want me because I'm busy golfing and doing other stuff. You want to use my showing assistant anytime you want to go see a house. So I think that's perfect. No one really talks about buyer presentations because most people don't do them, and most people don't do them because they don't respect themselves, they don't respect their time, and they don't operate as professionals. So we've always trained all of our agents that the most important function is prospecting, to meet with people, to get in person, to share a buyer presentation or a listing pres. After a listing pres, you want a listing agreement signed. After a buyer pres, you want a buyer's agreement signed. So if the buyer buys a house without you, or the seller sells the house without you, you're making your commission, whatever's delineated inside of the contract that they've signed with you. And what's beautiful is that if you learn how to leverage, which most of us here have or are in the process of doing, you can hire someone else to actually service the deal, from listing to close and from buy side to close. And eventually you can have someone leverage every part of the deal, like with me not selling most of the houses that we sell. I think I do about 5 deals a year, and our brokerage will sell about 1,000 houses this year. So the idea is that as you become the expert, you create these presentations in all these different areas of your business. It creates a systematic way to train your agents, to train your recruiter, to train your investor team on how to have the most success. So we have On Mondays and Wednesdays, we actually show agents how to present the buyer presentation in the listing pres. We won't be doing that this month. It's going to be more talking conceptually, and it was good. Our first meeting, I wanted everyone to kind of bring up what their best things were inside their presentations. Over the next 3 weeks, we're going to actually walk you through each of our listing presentations, buyer presentation, investment presentation. See if we can get Andrew to share that and maybe make one if we don't have one formalized right now. We have processes, but I don't know that we have an actual presentation. And then our recruiting presentation. And we're going to show you the bullets that we found after split testing actually matter. The client actually cares about it. Because for so long, I saw people's examples of presentations, and it's 70 pages of bullshit. It's like people don't need to, plug into just BS nonsense for an hour. They're like ready to go. I don't want people to choose me like how they choose certain cars that they purchase because they make them sit in a room for 3 hours. I want them to choose me because they're like, wow, you have the better technology. You have a fair rate. You're a professional. Like Lucas pointed out, you're going to operate well with others and be able to have open communication and be able to help me get the best deal on my property, either on the buy or the sell side. So that's what the goal of that presentation is. I think that's good for close. Next week will be listing presentation. Then it'll go buyer presentation. Then it'll go recruiting and investor presentation. And we'll get into the weeds. We'll actually walk you through our actual presentation. And we've made those available to you guys for free as part of ERS in our Google Drive. So everybody should have access to our list pres, buy pres. I'm not sure if we have the recruiting one in there. I'll take a look this week and we'll let you know next week. But be sure to go in and use some of those slides as examples of things that you could showcase in your presentation. And for anybody that thinks, well, I'm good enough, I don't need that, your agents aren't good enough yet. They need it. It's not necessarily just for us. I could go and talk to someone for 20 minutes and have them sign an exclusive agency without ever pulling out a presentation. But I need to make sure that they know all the things that I offer. And I need to make sure that every agent is showing every client that they're serving all of the different things that they offer, because I think we take a lot for granted. Jerry was making the point in recruiting these agents. I think, Jerry, you were making the point that a lot of those agents said, yeah, I need that new agent launch. It's not for new agents, but it's kind of like an introduction to your team and all the different things you do in all the different areas. People that have been in the business 10, 15, 20 years, they take for granted how quickly technology has advanced. And that's the whole goal with ERS, and what you're providing to them from an education standpoint is helping make sure that they're on the cutting edge of technology so that they can best serve their clients, so that we can create impact and influence for our agents, our clients that we serve, and help them generate the most amount of money in the least amount of time with the least amount of energy.